as a young aspiring necrophiliac, I bet you just ate this up.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
Hey Sam, guess what?
What? Guess what, Jamie?
We're here.
Here we are. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm not doing too bad. I'll give our listeners a little heads up. I might be extra froggy this week just because I've got a bit of an old sniffle in the throat pipe. So
haggard pony.
Yeah, but I've got a peppermint tea in my Profondo Rosso mug that I bought when I was in Italy.
Am I supposed to know what that is?
Profondo Rosso is a Dario Argento film, but it's also a shop run by Luigi Cozzi or someone like that. I can't remember. And
is it a giallo?
It is a giallo, yeah.
Fuck yeah, points.
It's a cool shop. There's a museum, Dario Argento museum underneath the shop.
Did you go?
I did go. That's where I got the mug.
So what did you see in there?
I saw Luigi Cozzi. He was working in there. Had a little chat with him. He said to me, "That'll be €60, please." And I said, "There you go."
For a fucking mug. Jesus, they're printing money down there.
We bought a mug. We got a magnet. Kaz bought a Suspiria t-shirt. We also got entry for 2 into the Dario Argento museum that's underground. It contains like these different setups, different room setups from different Dario Argento movies.
Nice.
Including Demons, which Healy produced, but that's fine.
Which room from Demons?
Well, it was just like a general room. Demons.
Like a Demons exhibit type room.
Yeah.
Nice. Did they have the metal mask?
I think they probably did, although I can't remember. I'd have to go through my photos and remember exactly what was in there.
How's that for connective tissue for today's episode, Jamie?
Absolutely. So today we're talking about Michele Soave's Dellamorte Dellamore.
Cemetery Man.
Also known as Cemetery Man, from the year
Can we just
1994.
Get out of the way early. Dellamorte Dellamore is a very interesting title, and the Americans couldn't handle it. So it was distributed in the US as Cemetery Man, which is so fucking funny to me.
Yeah.
It might be the funniest thing about the movie.
Cemetery Man sounds like, I don't know, like an old haggard man that hangs around. I mean, that's the movie, I guess.
That is the movie. It's not just a clever name. I don't know which one I prefer. I'm so torn. Cemetery Man speaks to me.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you prefer?
I mean, I first saw the movie under the title Cemetery Man, but I first knew of the movie under the title Dellamorte Dellamore, where I found it in, I think it was, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I used to go through Michael Weldon's Psychotronic Guide and circle all the movies that I thought sounded fucking cool.
I don't even know what that is, Jamie.
Oh, Sam.
I was too busy going through the phone book, crossing out dead people.
Well, I would go through the Psychotronic Guide, and I would put an asterisk next to the films that I'd seen, and I would circle all the films that I wanted to see.
That's a lot of circling.
Yeah, I still have those books from when I was a kid.
Nice. One day you have to explain to me what they are.
Yeah, I mean, they're just a big book. There's 2 big books. There's the Psychotronic Guide and there's the Psychotronic Video Guide. And they're just a big book of like short form reviews of like what Michael Weldon calls psychotronic films, which is like cult films.
Okay. That's quite a cool little turn of phrase for a cult movie.
Yeah. And
would you call Cemetery Man a cult movie?
I think it is one of the cultiest cult movies.
Let's say cult some more.
You dirty cult.
I think we should start talking about Cemetery Man because we've been live on the air for several hours. How did you first come across this in the Psychotronic Guide?
So I would have been about 15 when I was circling movies in the Psychotronic Guide. And I maybe didn't see it till I was 18, 19 because it was not super readily available in the UK.
That's a wait.
Yeah. But I found it. I saw it. Spoiler alert, I fucking loved it. It's great. It's just one of those films that I've carried with me for my entire life.
I'm so keen to know what you like about this film. So keen. I'm the one keen man. What was what's your abiding memory of the first time you saw this before we get into, the meat and potatoes?
Well, at the risk of sounding like a raving misogynist.
I said the one, not the two.
Well, it's all right, the left one. No, it was, I think my main memory of this film is the first half.
Right.
I think it's cool. The idea that like a weary cemetery man just like lives in a graveyard and has to stop the living dead from coming back every night. But he's so bored of it. I love that is such a strong idea to me. And also
It's a cool idea.
the synopsis of the movie. There you go.
There you go, you snopsed it. The cover of the American version, at least, even says zombies, guns, and sex. Oh my.
Yeah, that's fucking terrible, isn't it?
It couldn't be worse. Couldn't be worse. But it caught your attention at 15 years old. I didn't research this film going into it, obviously, as I never do, because I didn't want any spoilers. But I had seen a glimpse of a cover, and that's where I saw zombies, guns, and sex. Oh my! And I thought, oh boy, here we go.
I mean, there are zombies, there are guns, and there is sex.
Yeah. If you're going to say one thing about this movie, though, it's that it is not what you think it's going to be, right?
Yeah, definitely not. This is not. I mean, there's romping, but I wouldn't call it a romp.
Oh no, it rompant. It's not romping. An interesting movie.
I think so. Directed by, as we've said, Michele Soavi, starring
Michel Suave himself.
Yeah, starring Rupert Everett, Francois Hadji Lazaro as Nagi,
Yeah, your boy.
and Anna Falchi in 3 separate but not entirely distinct roles.
Yeah, largely hinged upon her tits, let's be completely honest.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you were already in the Anna Falchi fan club before you saw this film.
No, so I hadn't seen an awful lot of stuff that Anna Falchi was in before I'd seen this.
Oh, right, okay. And then did you do a deep dive into the entire back catalogue immediately after?
I don't think I did, I can't think of anything else that I've seen Anna Falchi in besides Dellamorte Dellamore.
Well, there's almost nothing in her IMDb that's above 4.5 on IMDb.
No, but
So,
I do watch a lot of Italian films, as we know.
mm,
But yeah, nothing in her filmography has jumped out at me, I don't think.
no. I, all joking aside, I did think a fairly strong performance.
Yeah, I think it's hard to play 3 different characters all with different
Hairdos.
vibes. Well, before we take a break, let me just finish off my roll call. So it's based on a book. I don't know if it's a comic or a straight up novel by Tiziano Sclavi, who is best known for writing the Dylan Dog books, of which I have many.
Bad movie?
Dylan Dog Dead of Night, I don't remember anything about it.
Much maligned.
Yeah. Can't imagine it lit me up when I saw it. And this is ostensibly a Dylan Dog movie because, well, the Francesco Dellamorte does appear in Dylan Dog, and then Dylan Dog, the character, is based on Rupert Everett.
Right.
So this is like stunt casting, basically.
Interesting.
To try and get those Dylan Dog fans in, because I think in like the mid-90s when this was being, well, in the early to mid-90s when this was being made and released, I think Dylan Dog was at the height of its success. It was selling like gangbusters.
Mm.
And like I say, I love Dylan Dog. I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful little comic that I own lots of issues of and can't really read because it's in foreign.
They were selling, but you were buying.
Yeah.
You had no way of translating when you were younger. You didn't buy an Italian dictionary, did you?
No, and like you don't really need to know what's being said.
Just looking at the boobs and guessing.
Yeah, well, there's like good cartooning, similar to good filmmaking, is that you don't really need the dialogue in order to get where you're going.
Okay.
And on that note, let's take a break and we'll come back and we'll talk in depth about Cemetery Man, because I, for one, knowing how much you do not like Italian films I'm keen to get your thoughts on Dellamorte Dellamore.
Careful what you wish for, bud. Let's take a break.
Ooh.
Will you give it up, man? Nobody's out there. We're alone. Oh no, there's somebody out there. I'm picking up all this crosstalk.
Sam, what record labels are you plumping at the moment?
Just Fat Wreck. No, wait. Just mostly Red Scare Industries. I mean, you want to talk about a label that launched the career of the Menzingers. You are welcome, people. Chicago's premier purveyors of punk, rock, power, pop, party, pinata music. Get your lips around some redscare.net is my advice. What about you, Jamie?
I have the same advice. I think that is good advice. You should go to that website, buy yourself a record or a t-shirt, a koozie. Like, I don't know, do what you need to do. But, like, just go there and buy the things.
Do what you need to do, but get it done. Redscare.net. Oh, boy, are we back. Holy cow. Welcome to the party, honey. How you doing?
Am I honey?
Yes.
Then I'm doing great.
Good. So, Cemetery Man, we've done the plot. We know the main characters. We know what's happening here. It does what it says on the tin in terms of we have a grouchy, grumpy, tired, slightly misanthropic, yearning, sorrowful protagonist living out his days in a cemetery. And yes, the dead are coming back, but it's not really a big deal. He has a sidekick of sorts, a foil, a chum, a bud, in the form of Nagi.
Correct.
And he's kind of going about his daily business, hopping zombos, crossing out dead people in the phone book as you do, and just kind of hanging and wanging, fending off the locals who he doesn't seem to like, and generally passing time.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That's exactly it. Like I said before, I think it's really fascinating to me, particularly at the age I was when I first saw this, the idea that you're killing zombies, but you're really just bored of it. Like, you're just going through the motions.
Yeah, because it's easy. These aren't like full speed ahead, raging, you become one, if we bite you, we want to eat your brain zombies. These are just, we've risen and we're lumbering around. And if you shoot us, we die.
Yeah, and they're vaguely sentient.
Yeah, they can kind of talk every now and then. They're sentient enough to take the piss out of him, which is fun.
Yeah.
And he just dispatches of them dispassionately.
Yes. He does everything dispassionately. That's his whole character, dispassionate cemetery man.
Yeah, that should have been the title. Dispassionate cemetery man takes the sting out of it a little bit. So yeah, I mean, what do you think about Rupert Everett's performance in this? I'm guessing you're in the Rupert Everett fan club.
I mean, I'm not in the Rupert Everett fan club. I'm in the Francesco Dellamorte fan club.
I see. So you don't love him in other things?
No. What else is he in? My best friend's wedding.
Yeah.
Like, he's rom-com.
Napoleon.
He's a rom-com man. Napoleon that came out last year.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was.
I'm going to go ahead. I'll just put you out of your misery. He's in a load of shite.
Yeah, well, he's one of those British actors that was like, I think he was big in the theatre in like the 80s and early 90s.
No shit. I mean, this movie.
and then he'd been in some movies, but like mostly artsy stuff. And I think he sort of broke out after this was made.
Yeah. This seems to be like his crazy holiday before he really got into rom-coms. Took the money and ran, this guy. Do you know what? His career is so fucking god-awful, I've closed the tab on IMDb. I don't even want to look at it anymore. I really liked his two things. His voiceover / narration, yeah, I thought was fantastic. And his bod. Man is shredded.
He's got a shredded bod that you don't expect from like an Englishman. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'm learning this more and more about movies of, I would say, like the early to mid, well, this gets a pass being mid-90s, early to mid-90s, right the way back to early 80s. Everyone in horror seems to be fucking starving and completely shredded. So there seems to be this like Hollywood diet. I mean, look, we're talking about Coke, but there seems to be this Hollywood diet that's that's taking these young actors who look completely unassuming. Most of them are nerds. Like, I would put this guy firmly in the nerd category. Rupert Everett is a nerd. And the whole cast of like every Friday the 13th movie, every movie where someone takes their shirt off, the incongruous fact is that these nerds have incredible bodies. It's like they just live at the gym.
I think in order to be an actor, you've got to have an incredible body, unless your lack of incredible body is part of your shtick.
But this is my whole thing, right? So let's say you're a nerd and you get into, drama at school or theater or whatever, and then you go to Hollywood with your dreams in your pocket, and somebody's like, you're perfect for this kid, but we need you to get jacked. And you get all these fucking absolute dweebs just down the gym repping sets. That's really funny to me. And then they take their shirt off and they're complete monsters. Just a weird phenomenon that's created such a bizarre look to a lot of movies.
Yeah, it fucks with my vision of like what people's bodies look like, because like if fucking
definitely
Louis Tully in Ghostbusters takes off his shirt and he's shredded, do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, just glistening, drinking a Pepsi, silhouetted. Yeah, I guarantee Rick Moranis was fucking jacked.
Absolutely,
like,
of course he was. It makes me think twice about bullying all those fucking nerds. Do you know what I mean?
I know, because they could burst out their shirts and twist your fucking head off like a jar. These guys are animals. Just a tiny observation there. I mean, he was going to be a lover man in this movie, right? So they wanted him to be. You can't have like fucking skinny dweeb guy with the hottest woman on earth. It's not gonna fly.
It isn't gonna fly, and it does sort of work. He's got a bit of I think he's got a weird face. In like he's ostensibly good looking, but like in a way that is interesting, I guess. His eyes are a bit slanty. He's got like quite a big nose. I guess.
Yeah, he looks like what's the guy that does fucking Mo Sislak's voice?
Hank Azaria.
Yeah, it looks like him.
Yeah, he looks pretty Italian for a British man.
He does. If you just showed me stills of this guy before the movie, I wouldn't have thought that he was going to sound, act, or be anything like the way he is in the movie.
Yeah. I really rate his performance in this. It's one of the better end of like Italian horror performances.
Oof.
I don't know what you said then.
I said oof because I was thinking, that's a real like biggest dick in the playgroup scenario. But still, like, knock yourself out, kid.
Well, I just think like he's an actor giving an actual performance. They made the movie in English because he was the main guy, and obviously he speaks English and doesn't really speak Italian.
Sure.
So everyone was acting around him, so he's able to give an actual performance rather than try his fucking best like John Saxon or fucking whoever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there's a definite and very real allure to his presence. He's pretty smoldering. He has he does a very good like pouty squint, which, if I'm honest, I think kind of carries a lot of the performance. But he, as a facial actor, is doing really quite pleasing stuff in a lot of scenes that are actually quite difficult, I think. So I think he's in a fucking bizarre movie. We haven't said anything about how weird this film is. From front to back, it is surreal and strange and twisty-turny and nonsensical. So for him to center, in my opinion, the entire movie is quite impressive. Like, you always know where you stand with him, his performance, his narration. All of that is kind of a rock hard core to a pretty chaotic situation going on around him. So I appreciated that, definitely.
Big chunks of his dialogue landed with me in that sort of depressed teenager kind of way, where like just some of the dialogue I think is so clever, but not really clever, but like it sounds clever and funny. Like, I'd give my life to be dead is amazing.
It's very good. Yeah. I can see why this would appeal to you in that sense. Definitely. There's a lot of poetic asides, etc. And, as a young aspiring necrophiliac, I bet you just ate this up.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing that's not shitty is sleep.
Yeah, that was really good. I like that. On your deathbed, he says that as well. It's so funny.
Oh. So come on, Sam, put me out of my misery. Did you or did you not like Dellamorte Dellamore?
It's too simple a question. I'm gonna go with, for me, it's the Midsummer Night's Dream of Italian horror movies, in that if you get it, I'm sure it's hilarious.
Did you not think it's
Uh,
hilarious?
I think some of it was genuinely funny. There's nothing that's not funny about a really busy day at the zombie graveyard because a bus full of scouts has crashed off a mountain, popping the mayor's daughter's head. It was I love that shit. It was superb. And then the guy coming back from the dead, still on his motorbike because he was buried, all like twisted and entangled in it. So good. For me, the stuff in this movie that works is the pitch black humor.
Yeah.
The stuff that's kind of in the middle didn't land for me quite as well, but the really pitch black stuff was genuinely laugh out loud funny. And being a complete sucker for the atmosphere of classic horror, i.e., foggy graveyards, anytime that was happening, I was absolutely smitten. I thought some of the way that they just conjure this classic horror atmosphere in these Osirian graveyard scenes, and the way they're not afraid to just have terrible special effects on some of this stuff, like Death is literally just a mannequin with his jaw being wiggled. The scene where she like pops up in the cemetery and all of her like clothes are flowing outwards, it's classic. I loved all of that. I thought that was fantastic. For me as a viewer, taste wise, the gimmick wore thin pretty quickly, but I enjoyed the surrealism, not knowing like what was quote unquote real and what was something a little bit Lynchian about it. There's a lot. I've noticed a lot of stuff in the film that felt reminiscent of things that had come before and that had not happened yet. Like I felt a lot of the music was really Castlevania. Like it felt like really kind of stripped back synthy video game music almost. I loved that there was stuff in there that felt very Evil Dead 2. I think maybe Renfield took a couple of pages from this, just in the narration and the humor and the atmosphere and the vibe. Felt very reminiscent of that. Bits of it feel very Tim Burton, which was really fun. And yeah, there was a lot I liked.
Well, that's good. I guess does it sort of lose you when we move past the zombies into the weird other stuff?
Well, no, because I wasn't all in on the zombies because he's not. They're not. It's immediately obvious that you're not supposed to be like, oh, great, a zombie movie. You're supposed to just sort of acknowledge his perspective on the zombies, which is that they're an inconvenience and a slightly dangerous one if you're not on your toes.
Yeah, if you're trying to have sex with one of the zombies, she might bite you.
Exactly. So it's very difficult to say for me what didn't quite hit in this movie. And I think sometimes the lack of like any kind of real central motivation, conflict and or storyline was a little bit difficult to latch onto, but you're kind of carried by the weirdness and like what's the weird thing that's going to happen next is quite fun.
Yeah, it's absolutely a vibes movie. Like nothing really happens, nothing really makes sense. It's just a collection of vibes.
Yeah, it's very comic book in that sense, right?
Yeah.
You're transitioning from, scene to scene, from still to still, essentially, and there doesn't always need to be masses of connective tissue between the two because it's one idea leading to another, one action leading to a reaction kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the way that I would also say it's Lynchian in the way that it's like the meaning of the movie, if you could extrapolate one, is about how the movie makes you feel, what it makes you think about, rather than the actual narrative things that are happening in front of you, or even like any sort of subtext in there.
Yeah, I've got no idea what the movie's about, really. I speculate at best, but I like I'm a bit of a sucker, I guess, for I don't know what you'd call it really, but like narration in movies and the protagonist having a voiceover narration. I like a lot of stuff that does that. I think it's a really intimate device for a protagonist that maybe isn't quite as articulate in the action of the movie and who maybe has kind of murky motivation at times. I think it's a really useful tool that doesn't feel like you're being spoon-fed. It feels artistic and it feels revealing. So I really enjoyed those sections. What were your favorite bits of this movie? What do you love?
I mean, I love so much of the first half, so much of like bits of the second half or the final third. I love all the stuff with Nagi and the mayor's daughter's head.
Very funny.
So much fun. My favorite gag in the whole movie is the little photo of the dead husband's face on the gravestone. So like he's got a very serious face when it's like standard. When she's talking about how great he was in the sack, it's a really smiley face. And then when they're banging on his grave, he looks furious.
It's great. It's pure haunted house stuff. I love it.
It's really good. It's like almost like Disney Haunted Mansion type stuff. Like, really good. I enjoy the collective vibes of this movie, but I still don't really know what it's actually about. I've read some theories online about it's an allegory for fascism. I have no idea how or why. I couldn't find any extrapolation on that.
Right.
In the commentary track on the Blu-ray, which is in Italian, so I had to do my best, Michele Soavi said that he basically treated it as like the opposite of a horror film. Like in a horror film, it's all about the fear of death, and this is about the fear of living.
Mm.
And he sort of mentions a few other stuff, like the world is dead outside of the graveyard, and the graveyard is the only place where people are actually alive, even the dead people.
Right.
So there's that. A thing that I really love that you sort of touched on before is I love the Grim Reaper animatronic.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I'm saying animatronic in big air quotes.
Big air quotes.
This
is a plastic mannequin.
It's the same death as in the Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's the same prop effect, whatever it's called.
Holy shit.
I remember I was watching the Adventures of Baron Munchausen and I was like, you fuckers, you stole that. You stole that from the prop warehouse or whatever.
Yeah.
And like the puppetry is pretty bad.
Yeah.
But like...
But on purpose, right?
Yeah, I guess. But even so, it still just looks cool. It looks really gnarly. All the sort of
cool
stuff flying around.
Yeah.
It's just good. It's a good film.
As much of a criticism of mine as it is to say that it's very middle school drama production, all in all, as a movie, some of its biggest strengths come from that, I think. Like that prop, like the various ideas for the way things move on screen and the camera placement therein, like putting the camera inside the mouth of a flying severed head. Like that's really quite fun, innocent filmmaking in a lot of ways, I think. And some of the gore is hilarious.
Some of the way that the camera is used is really interesting. Some of it is a little bit over the top, but I think some of my favorite shots in any movie are in this movie. There's one shot that I really, really love where it's Francesco Dellamorte is sat in a grave reading a paper while Nagi sort of digs the grave alongside him.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know if that was taken directly from the comic.
Right.
But it absolutely looks like it must have done. I think the way that this film is edited feels like there's a thing in comics. I don't know how into comics theory you are, but there's a thing in comics called pagination, which is about how the panels are paced like rhythmically to sort of put you in the mindset of like how fast you should be reading and how fast things are happening in order to get you from say panel A to panel Z in a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And the editing on this movie felt like absolute comic pagination. It was just like, which is like, I guess pagination exists as a cinematic device to try and make you experience a comic the way you experience a film. But even so, I think the way that it works in this, the way that it's edited, really, really feels like you could be just reading a comic. It's
without having like those cheese dick panel transitions.
Yeah.
It does. It I mean, I didn't know it was a comic beforehand. I thought it was based on a novel. And I thought the exact same thing. I was like, this is transitioning strangely like reading some kind of graphic novel. And like you said, establishing shots that frame characters are very comic-esque. You know, that's a deliberate stylistic choice. You know, you don't see that in movies that don't have that referential touch point of a comic story.
Yeah, it's worth saying that like when she is a zombie, like if she had a purple light behind her, that could be straight out of Creepshow. Like
yeah, absolutely. And that was great. I love the creature effects there. I love all the effects on the severed head. Everything in the I keep saying ossuary, but I don't know if it is an ossuary.
It is an ossuary.
Yeah, okay, cool. In there, all of that stuff's like beautifully gothic, but just silly enough for you to know that you're in a rubber dick horror movie. And just working really well, like lots of wind and leaves. I really liked, well, I actually found it quite unpleasant, but I fully understand why. Well, I think I understand why they did it. I love the stark difference in the look of the movie between night and day. So nighttime is classic gothic horror for the most part, but a little bit on the Buffy side of things. And then daytime is horribly stark and like fairly washed out at times.
Very
and
sterile.
Over the top saccharine. Yeah, exactly. And I like that because you're begging for night the whole time, just like he is.
Yeah, he's begging for night. He's begging for it to rain. He doesn't like it when it's sunny.
Yep.
Which is just funny. It's a funny thing. It's a little bit sort of on the nose and childish, but in a way that tells you what you need to hear or tells you what you're supposed to know without like going into reams and reams of expository dialogue.
Yeah, he's mopey. He's a bit, bit Charlie Brown, bit Garfield. He's that guy.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be your hero. So you're a little bit, you don't know whether to lean into that or whether to hope he has that big hero transition into something more.
Which he does not.
Just absolutely does not happen.
The opposite
so
happens.
For that. Yeah, exactly. Again, an interesting choice. I think that's for the central character to show absolutely no growth or development, and if anything, just to get way worse in almost every regard, and to just like fuck dead people and just murder people, and for you to not hate him, to not be put in a position where you're judging or thinking, oh my god, he's gone off the rails. You're just sort of casually observing him doing all this in the way that he kind of casually observes his own life. So I think that's a triumph in terms of hooking you with the central character. If you're not just adrift from his motivation the whole time, you get it, even though it's weird.
Yeah, I feel like you can enjoy it on like the surrealistic, absurdist level, or you could just watch it and be like, zombies, guns, and boobs. Oh my! Like,
yeah, and I think maybe my failing is that I fell squarely between the cushions there.
Really?
Like I wasn't quite able to be like, yeah, tits and guns, cemetery man, but I also wasn't able to kind of elevate myself to the material and enjoy the surrealism fully, or see it as like a triumph of theatrical graphic novel made motion picture. Some of it clicked with me and some of it didn't, but I think overall the main feature, or like the main selling point of this movie for people to go and watch it, is that I think it's a really interesting take on several elements of several things that you probably like. And it does something new by crushing them all together into an awkward, janky little ball and just kind of rolling it towards you and being like, there you go. What do you think?
I think that is completely right. The zombie stuff in the first third is so much fun.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that why do the people in town think he doesn't have a penis?
Yeah, they think he's dickless and they call him an engineer. Again, weirdly, I kind of liked it, but it makes no sense. And that's fine.
The engineer thing is doubly weird because in the Italian language versions and in the script, he's actually called a ragionier, which means accountant.
What the fuck?
So, like, either way, he's not an accountant. He's not an engineer. He's more of an accountant than an engineer, I guess, because he is keeping a track of who's dead and who's alive.
So did they just make it the word engineer because that looks close to ragionier that people were saying in the movie?
Yeah.
To dub it. What the fuck? See, that's the kind of dumbness that this movie, that sums it up.
A really subtle thing that I just want to point out in that character as well, the old woman, is that the first time you see her, she walks into the cemetery. The second time you see her, she's on crutches. The third time you see her, she's got a Zimmer frame. And the next time she's dead. It's fucking great.
See, that kind of stuff is exactly what could keep you coming back to this movie for more, I think. There's lots of little, very subtle things like that you just don't fucking think to keep up with. And it is very clever. I like that a lot. That really appeals to my sense of humor because it feels like a fucking Leslie Nielsen or something.
Yeah.
Like it feels so slapstick. And I'm an enormous slapstick guy. So if you're slipping good, low-key slapstick into a very surreal tits, booze and guns horror movie, I'm so confused. I don't know what to think, but I'm having fun.
There's loads of slapstick. When Nagi vomits on the mayor's daughter and everyone's just cool with it.
Like, she's fine with it. She's like, oh, you vomited on me. I'm going to go and hang with my boyfriend.
Yeah, and then Claudio's like, get on. Hug me from the back right now, you vomited covered teenager.
Yeah.
And
a lot of good shit.
The zombie scouts. That is
shit.
Just hilarious. Just like, what is the piss weakiest, like, not terrifying at all zombie you could think of? It's Boy Scouts and a nun.
Bus full of Boy Scouts.
And they're just like, just banging their teeth
Yeah.
together in a really silly way.
Yeah.
And then he shoots all their faces off. It's great.
Yeah. That was my favorite. I guess my favorite like risk in the movie is that, killing a busload of scouts in a movie quite early on could be the thing that kills your movie, right? There's a lot of bodies out there that would say you're not allowed to do that in a film.
Yeah.
And then if you go, yeah, but we're also going to shoot them when they come back from the dead. Like, okay, well, you definitely can't do that. So I had a lot of respect for that. And that is the kind of really, really dark humor that gets my dick racing. So yeah, I love that. Some of the fucking the dead was, I don't know. Again, it just slipped between like, we're doing this for laughs and we're doing it in a really romantic Dracula way. And somewhere in the middle there is like, you're just fucking her because she's hot, even though she's dead, which is just slightly mispitched, I think, in terms of the humor side of it.
I know what you mean, but I disagree.
I thought you might.
Like, I think not to go full Code Blue, but she's hotter when she's dead, right?
You want to fuck the dead, is
Yeah.
what you're telling me right now.
I do like it better when they smell of formaldehyde. That song is
I- in my-
nonsense, by the way. That song is fucking
know.
gibberish.
It is one of my all-time favorites.
It's a great song.
I wrote in my notes, she wants the cold pork, and I don't know what that means. Oh yeah, because she's horny for her dead husband, and that's why she tries to bang him in the ossuary. Yeah, it's super weird, but perfectly fine, in my opinion. I think all of the sex and all the horny stuff in this movie is obviously great, because everyone's super attractive, everyone appears to be very into it, and what's not to love?
Yeah. What do you think the movie is trying to say about the fact that these women are all the same woman?
This might sound like a cop-out, but I think it might be a dream. I know. The way you're looking at me makes me so sad.
I read
online that... Go on.
Well, I've read a read. It might be the same read that like this is all a dream inside the mind of Franco.
Yeah, and that I immediately dismissed.
I think
Because
it's as valid as any other speculation. But like, the second woman, the woman that he gets his dick injected with impotence medication because she's scared of erect penises.
he so nearly gets it cut off.
He so nearly gets it cut off.
I can't have sex with this woman because she's terrified of erect penises. What can I do? I'll get my dick chopped off. Toot sweet. Let's go,
I
dog.
know. He doesn't even think about it. He is very quick to form these what would be lasting relationships.
He is reckless. But the worst thing about that is he's so upset when the needle of the injection hurts. He's going to get his dick chopped off with no anesthetic, and he's like, "Ow, the needle."
I mean, he would have been just as upset with the chopping, I think. Hurt is hurt.
Maybe. True.
But yes,
I did enjoy how fucking dumb that
so
was
silly.
as well, by the way. P.S.
Also being like, he's there to get his dick chopped off and he's like showing it off to the doctor. Like, look, I've really got I have got a dick.
I've got one.
Well, not.
Now chop it off.
Yeah.
So dumb.
But yeah, so the read that I read was that she is Franco's wife and then the other one is Franco's daughter.
Oh.
Because he's like, the cop's like, oh, he killed his wife and daughter. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't see that, but I mean, it feels like a cop-out just to say dream. I feel like I need to maybe explain it a little bit more. I love that he spends a lot of time in the shower. First observation.
Yeah.
As a teenage boy, sometimes your only place to go is the shower. I definitely found that growing up. The only place you get any fucking peace and quiet in this insane world is to have a shower. And I think there's an aspect to this that is his inward-looking daydreaming. And I can't necessarily point to any evidence there. Well, I mean, what other explanation is there for the manifestation of this female character 3 times in 3 separate guises in 3 separate lives, essentially, other than he's looking for her everywhere and maybe daydreaming her into his life somehow? Because her disappearance from the narrative each time is ridiculous. And it's all complete nonsense. So it just feels... Because we're in such slippery, surrealist territory where we don't really know what's real and what isn't. Is he really talking to death, for example? Like, all of this stuff feels, if not dreamy or daydreamy, then completely invented in this romantic cemetery man's mind. with no delineation between reality and unreality, because why would an Italian director respect the audience enough to draw any kind of lines there for you to know where you stand?
Well, like, why would you need those lines?
So that we don't have to have conversations like this.
No one's saying, "Oh, I wish David Lynch would make a linear narrative feature."
Actually, they are.
Well, he did. It's called The Straight Story. Look it up.
Yeah, all those Toyota commercials, if you want David Lynch's linear work.
The Straight Story is great and very linear. He made that for Disney.
Yeah, it's his Jersey Girl. I think
Jersey Girl's also great.
Jersey Girl.
Jersey Girl is great.
Here it comes. In defense of Jersey Girl.
I mean,
go on.
It's
I'm not letting you get away with it.
It's a good movie.
It's not. Well, okay. I'm not going to argue that it's not good. It's definitely nowhere near as bad as people made it out to be.
Absolutely.
You know, those Kevin Smith movies, I think bear revisiting, because I rewatched Mallrats a couple of years ago and I could not fucking believe that I ever liked that movie. It was so painfully slow.
Yeah, Mallrats sucks. So the only ones that hold up are Clerks and Jersey Girl. And I think that's it.
And Yoga Hosers.
Fuck Yoga Hosers. And then, like,
could be the worst film ever made. I'm probably standing by that.
Red State and Tusk don't need to be revisited because they're recent enough that they're fine.
They're rock solid, I think. Well, maybe Red State, maybe not rock solid, but Tusk is a ripper. I actually like, on some level, all of the Clerks movies, but the first one is so head and shoulders above everything else. It's such a fucking great film.
I feel like I watched Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back so many times when I was a teenager.
Really?
Like, it was almost my entire personality for a summer.
6 weeks of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Oh, imagine.
I mean, it's silly fun. Like, it's not garbage.
Yeah, it's got Mike Allred in the very beginning talking about Chow Yun-fat playing Madman. It's great. What's not?
How bad can it be?
What's not to like? I mean,
yeah,
the most recent Jay and Silent Bob movie, and also Clerks 3, which I didn't hate Clerks 3.
I didn't hate it either.
I wish someone would be like, maybe edit your jokes a little bit, Kevin Smith.
Yeah, nobody's
saying that's Kevin Smith because he's got all the money. He's fine.
It's kind of funny for a guy like Kevin Smith to have all the money.
Well, yeah. He also did a thing where he was running in like the Hollywood Hills and saw someone in a Clerks t-shirt and was like, "Hey, mate." And they ignored him because why would you respond to a guy that is trying to talk to you while you're just sitting on the top of a hill looking at your phone? And then posted about it like, he's wearing a Clerks hat and he didn't realize that the director is right here. Like, what a prick. Fuck off, mate.
Pretty weird.
Bullshit. Anyway, Kevin Smith, fuck off. Michele Soave, you can stay.
Yeah, you sure? Does he have to?
I mean, let's look at the oeuvre of Michele Soave. We've got this.
I'll let you look at the oeuvre.
We've got his stunning turn as Guy in the Mask in Demons. He made The Sect. He made The Church, one of the Demons 3s that we've talked about, which we are going to cover at some point because it is good. But obviously, I know that you don't like Italian films, so I'll let you breathe for a little bit before we do.
Listen, I like a lot of Italian films. I just haven't seen an Italian horror movie that I like yet.
But you liked this, right?
I like Cinema Paradiso.
Imagine a Cinema Paradiso Demons mashup. That's what we want.
I'm in. Demons Paradiso.
Yeah.
Let's go. Count me in the front row.
Cinema Metropole Paradiso. There you go.
Very good. Yeah, it looks like he's done a bunch of stuff, and that's fine.
He's such an artsy director as well. I love when like people let artsy shit get in their horror. Like there's that shot in this where it's the Lovers by Magritte. There's another shot in this where it's Isle of the Dead by Bocklin. Like one of the.
I'm not going to pretend I noticed any of this.
So when they're in the ossuary and he tries to kiss her and she wraps his head in the sheet.
Yeah.
That is the tableau that you see there. That is The Lovers by Magritte. And then like
very good.
The Isle of the Dead is like it's like a broken grave basically. And so one of the broken graves in the graveyard looks like that, and they linger on it for quite a while.
Nice. In that death scene in the ossuary, I really like the slow motion shot from above where he throws the shroud over her after she falls down backwards. There's a lot of really, really beautiful, easy to miss stuff like that in this film, and that's where I appreciate the artist's eye. I think there's a lot of very, very, very beautiful moments like that. And what a crazy thing to be an amazing artist and to make this movie.
Yeah, well,
where you're shooting nuns in the eye and running over people's heads and blowing up buses full of kids.
that's the beauty of Italian horror, is that like you have these insane like auteur style directors doing insane, beautiful, manic, sublime, ridiculous things, like all in the same movie. Like when your touch points, like, and where you come from. So Michele Soavi, he came up working with Lamberto Bava for Dario Argento, so they worked under Dario Argento for quite a while. Obviously, Lamberto Bava is Mario Bava's son, so like Mario Bava is like the quintessential Italian horror film director. You could argue that maybe that's Dario Argento, but like Lucio Fulci could never. The artistry in Lucio Fulci is making you feel as uncomfortable as possible, whereas like Mario Bava and Dario Argento and then Michele Soavi is all about the beauty juxtaposed with the horror. And I think it really, really works. I really love it. And it feels so right and so wrong at the same time. And then to add an extra layer of like insane, super duper dark comedy on top of that. The stuff that you've said that you like about this, I still don't understand why you don't like Dead Alive.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes too much Dead Alive in this movie. And again, that's just, I leave that shit out normally because it's just my personal opinion. It's not like, it's not constructive in any way. But for me, there were bits of this that smelled a bit Dead Alive, and I was like, "Oh, fuck off."
But like the guy riding out of the grave on a motorbike, that is pure Dead Alive.
How? How is
because
it?
that was shit like that.
Does that happen in Dead
like,
Alive?
Basically, shit like that happens.
No,
so much in Dead Alive.
No way. Dead Alive has no fucking sense of style. That's my problem. This has a touch of class, which is why it gets a pass. And I have an enormous amount of respect. When I was watching this, I was like, is this ambitious? Is this an ambitious film? And I thought to myself, fuck, no, it's kind of the opposite. I feel like this is a guy blowing off steam more than anything. It seems like, to the person making it, this was non-stop fun. This is like taking all the things you find funny, all the things you think are beautiful, and all the things you think are kind of scary on an existential level, but making them, palatable and making them kind of poking fun at your demons, and then chucking it all together with a pretty decent budget and a great cast. And for that, I have an enormous amount of respect.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it probably is quite ambitious because it wasn't made for very much money.
Yeah.
They ran out of money for so many of the effects, which is why they look so janky, but I agree that works. Like the little flamey guys that are like floating around them while they bang on the grave. They're so great. It's like flaming marshmallows. It looks amazing.
It's Muppet Christmas Carol. It just looks brilliant. And I don't know what it is. Someone, smarter than me will be able to tell me what this is eventually, but I have no problem with aspects of any kind of high budget, like any budget movie where the production value, I guess, dips for a specific thing. So in this movie, you've got Death is a shitty mannequin, let's be honest. And some of the makeup work is like just daubed on chunks of shit. And I have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. In the same way, I have no problem with Friday the 13th Part 7, Jason's face, that everyone thinks is ridiculous. I think the idea of scary things in these movies is that they're supposed to be scary, so they don't actually have to be sometimes. I know that sounds weird, but death is supposed to be scary. The idea of death is scarier than the mannequin, so just use the mannequin.
Yeah, well, I also think that like this film doesn't want to scare you with things that would normally scare you.
Sure.
That's why it's all so ridiculous. I've got 50 questions that I want to ask you about this movie, Sam. Can I just run through them?
Uh-oh. An actual 50?
Well, not actual 50, right?
Okay, go on then. Give me 50.
Who is Franco?
He is possibly a manifestation of your boy's subconscious. I would say he could be that, or he could just be his only friend. On the theme of friendship, I thought maybe he's a friend that oh, I did have a theory about this. Hold on.
So I did notice that when you see Franco in his like workplace, it doesn't look entirely dissimilar to the graveyard. It's just like piles and piles of paper.
Right.
So I mean, that's just an observation. I've got no answer for you.
I thought there might be some kind of, is he dead? Probably not. And then I thought, okay, if he's not dead, what are they trying to tell us? He works in bureaucracy. He's, like you said, surrounded by like endless reams of paper. There's something being said there that I think might be fun or interesting, but I didn't really get it. And then he goes nuts, kills his family, ends up in hospital, and is the catalyst for, I guess, the ending.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to say. Francesco goes to visit him in hospital, kills everyone in the hospital, and then tries to leave town and can't. I don't know. I don't think there's maybe as much to Franco as we would like to think. I think maybe he's a bit of a gap filler.
Okay. Why do the dead come back?
I don't know. I think if the world doesn't exist outside of this town/graveyard, then the graveyard seems to be some kind of last hope. It seems to me that he's like playing out some kind of theatrical version of life and death until he reaches some kind of revelation, at which point he gets to transcend. But there's nothing that really tells you that in the movie. They're coming back in this specific graveyard on his watch. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, he said there's a bit of dialogue, isn't there, at the beginning where he's like, I don't know if this is happening everywhere. All I know is that I kill him again and put him back in the ground.
And then we find out there is no anywhere else.
Yeah, they live in a snow globe.
Yeah, in the Evil Dead snow globe.
Why do the three women have the same face?
They had one incredibly beautiful person to portray all three women, and they wanted to max out the amount of time she was on screen.
Valid. Absolutely valid.
Italians.
Why is drinking wine out of a tall tumbler so much more depressing than just drinking wine out of a normal wine glass?
Oh, there's something really jarring about drinking out of the inappropriate receptacle.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, it really, really is.
Really weird. Like if you have, geez, like I drink wine out of a little round tumbler because I can't use anything with a stem because I always break it. I've broken every fucking wine glass in my house. But every now and then I'll just, slosh some wine in a coffee cup, and it's awful. It's just a terrible experience.
Yeah, I feel like if you drink alcohol out of a mug, you're an alcoholic. Like it makes you be an alcoholic because do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I guess I'm an alcoholic now because I drank some whiskey out of a mug.
I've seen Educating Rita. Have you ever drank booze out of a test tube?
Only those terrible shots.
Yeah. But how weird and wrong did it feel? But kind of fun.
I used to, so when I was a small child, I had like a chemistry set. And I would drink all of that. I would mix up all the chemicals and drink it, hoping to get superpowers or turn into a werewolf or...
What the fuck were you drinking?
I don't know, magnesium probably.
Sulfuric acid. I just expected to Hulk out any minute and you shit your pants.
Yeah. It never went well.
Just fucking eating Play-Doh and just... Shit me. Okay, we just unriddled a lot of your childhood, I think.
Why does Nagi pretend to be dumb?
Does he pretend to be dumb? Are you asking the right questions? I think...
All right. Sorry, Jodie Foster.
Yeah, that's going to be a bit dated at some point, isn't it? I think he has some kind of awakening at the end from his smash in the head. Not the classic, like, got kicked in the head by a horse, got really dumb, got kicked in the head by a donkey, got really smart. But, like, I think he bangs his head and kind of sobers up a little bit and regains the ability to speak.
So why does Francesco lose it?
When?
So at the end, he says, nah, when... Nagi speaks to him.
I thought that was just like a Jay and Silent Bob thing.
Yeah, I think that Nagi and Francesco are the same guy.
Some people think that they're both aspects of Franco's subconscious, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the movie. Doesn't tell us anything about Franco apart from that he's there. He works in bureaucracy, and he takes the heat for Francesco's crimes ultimately.
Yeah.
So like, it's saying something. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't tell us anything about Franco. So I don't believe any of that.
I think that's logical. That's some
But-
seriously Razorus Occam shit right there.
Yeah. But I do think that you can read Francesco and Nagi as like two halves of the same person. They live
Yeah,
in the
you
same
could-
house. Their conversations are always one-sided.
Hmm.
Like,
I think you could argue that Francesco doesn't exist. Unfortunately, you could argue a lot of things, I guess.
well, I think
Yeah, there's something going on there, right?
yeah, one of the things that I think this film is saying is that these characters only exist in the narrative that they've been given by the screenwriters. And so
Yeah.
they exist in one context only and can't
that's
really
almost-
exist outside of that context.
To me, that's clever because all movies do the opposite. They're always trying to convince you that this is really happening in this real place, even if
Yeah.
it's a fantasy place. It exists in the world of the movie. Whereas this is a stupid little stage. And
Even in fictional worlds within movies, like say The Neverending Story or
yeah,
Last Action Hero, like the fictional world within the world of the movie still has an interior logic and still functions as a wider world. Like when you're in fucking Jack Slater world in Last Action Hero, you never
Yeah.
see the animated cat that's voiced by Danny DeVito, but he lives there.
he lives there. He's real in that world.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. You're right.
That's a puzzler, and I like the idea that there's something deeper going on with Francesco and Nagi beyond, a fucking mice and men thing. Like I think there's more being said here that I think if I knew more about potentially like Italian folklore, I might have more to say on the subject. But I think regardless, it's not the heartwarming buddy movie that you think it might be at the very beginning. Neither of them go through much growth or change. They
No.
both kind of deteriorate. They both kind of drift apart a little bit. And then we have this very strange vignette ending that's not even remotely explained. In terms of like figuring out what their actual relationship is, I'm just going to go with lovers.
Sure. Who's the top and who's the bottom? Nagi on top.
Yeah, I would imagine, Nagi on top and Franco.
Power bottom.
Yep.
Well, why don't we take a little break and we'll come back and we'll give our final thoughts and say goodbye to the nice people.
Let's do that.
Come on, man. Does that thing even work? No. There's nothing out there. It's just dead air.
Oh, we're back.
Yeah.
That was quick.
So tell the people, Sam, how they can support the podcast.
There's a few simple things you can do. You can rate and review the podcast. You're bound to be having all kinds of thoughts about what a pair of jackasses we are. Well, put your money where your mouth is, type it out with your thumbs, and hit that fucking 5-star button now. Do it. Then you can go follow us at FT Horror Show on all of the social media platforms in existence, even TikTok. You heard it here first, or maybe not, but even TikTok. Then I would highly recommend you just turn around to everyone around you and say, wow, what a great podcast, and tell them that you're listening to Final Transmission. If you are a public person in any way, pump us up, pump our plums, roll out the big potatoes and tell the world how great we are, because every little helps. Am I right, Jamie?
Every little does help. I would really like it if you did that.
Yep.
Because I don't feel very well. And you don't want to make poorly sad man cry.
I don't think they do. And I think if they do, they'll have me to answer to.
I've got some more questions that I want to ask you about Dellamorte Dellamore before we finally give our final thoughts.
I knew I was going to get a grilling. I don't know why. I felt it in my bones.
Where's the guy going with his suitcase at the beginning?
Don't remember that bit.
So the first zombie, when he opens the door,
Oh, yeah.
he's just got his suitcase.
He's going the same place everyone is in this movie. Fucking nowhere. And I'm into it.
I really love that. I really love like the suggestion of like the interior lives of these zombies. They've got somewhere to be. They've got a reason. Yeah. They're coming back for a reason, and they just want to live their lives or something.
There's a beautiful comedic dumbness to the zombies in this movie that makes them look and feel like stoners. And I think that's great.
Yeah.
Just fucking dumb zombo stoners bumbling around, giggling at stuff, having the fucking time of their deaths.
I love this movie, Sam. I love it so
you do.
much.
I could tell. I could see it all over your face. Even in your like wearied, ill state, this movie brings so much joy to you.
It really does. I watched it 3 times in the last 48 hours.
What the fuck, Jamie? 3 times.
I was prepping.
You're on a roll.
I was prepping, and
I
like
barely got through it once.
I mean, I love it. I've seen this movie. I don't know.
More times than Martyrs?
Yeah, I would say triple the times I've seen Martyrs. I think,
Holy crap.
like, I can just throw this on. It's a comfortable place for me to be.
That's good. I love a comfort movie.
Yeah, it's just got everything. It's funny. It's artistic. You don't have to actually watch it. It's something you can easily throw on in the background while you're like writing code or whatever. Because like,
Jesus, writing code.
yes, mate. So I do that.
You're a genius, Jamie. A man of many talents. It's your Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
It's one of my Ferris Bueller's Day Offs. I
You
reckon
have
Ferris
a lot
Bueller
of
had
days off. So
yeah. I reckon Ferris Bueller had a lot of days off too. So
you're fucking right. Oh, what I wouldn't give for more Ferris Bueller's Days Off.
well, did you watch the TV show that was on Nickelodeon?
Oh no, I heard too many awful things about it.
Yeah, it was
I
fucking
think I
dog
watched
shit.
like some YouTube clips or something, but ouch.
Parker Lewis Can't Lose was better.
What's Parker Lewis Can't Lose?
It was like off-brand Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Really?
Yeah, it's good.
By the way, I quickly, while you were out of the room, looked up Dead Alive just to make sure that it's definitely the one that I hated, because you make it sound like I should love it so much. I doubt my own feelings. And yes, it is true. I thought it was shockingly bad.
It's gonna go on the list, Sam, and you're gonna have to watch it at some point. And I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna maybe when we're in the same room is when we watch it, so I can.
Christ, so you can tell me
watch you like a hawk.
why I should like it in my
So
face.
I can so I can watch you like a hawk and make a note every time you laugh. And
Is
then
Bad
be
Taste
like,
any good? Because that was always in the video shop when I was a kid.
Bad Taste is markedly worse than
God.
Dead Alive.
Is that possible? Okay,
I
fine. I'm just doomed, aren't I?
yeah. Welcome to our new
Yeah.
podcast. Oops, all Peter Jackson.
Oh, fuck
Let's
off.
get to
I'd
the
be
lovely
out.
bones.
You'd be replacing me with Matt Wise if that happened, because I would be long gone.
I love this movie, Sam. I love
Yeah.
it. I think
Are you going to give it a rating? Because I'm excited.
yeah, both boobs.
Both boobs out of both boobs. You've
Two
talked
boobs
so
up.
little about the boobs. I don't know if I'm disappointed or very proud.
I think the best boob bit in this movie is when she bites him on the nipple.
Oh, I nearly ran out the room. Fucking hell. I don't want to get too deep into this with anonymous people listening to the podcast, but I can't do guy nipple stuff. I cannot.
That's not
go
true.
there.
You've done so much stuff with my nipples.
With yours, yeah, it's completely different. Yours are made of Teflon. I have the world's most sensitive nipples. You feel like a butterfly flies near my nipples, and I nearly cry. Like, my nipples feel like I always have like fucking 8th degree burns on them. There's something wrong with me. So when I see a woman chowing down on a guy's nip, I just want to fucking leave. I can't do it. Oh, male nipple piercings. Oh my God. Even thinking about it now is making my skin crawl.
Well, okay. I'll be gentle next time, Sam.
Such a hard bite as well. It wasn't like a stage bite or a rubber nipple.
Yeah, no,
She pulled it like fucking 3 inches off his chest.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a real.
That was your best ever, yeah. Okay. When you edit this, you can't go back and listen to that, yeah. Yeah.
I think it just sounded like that because I'm not well. But yeah, this movie has
You're
everything.
right, you're not well.
It has.
Carry on, sorry.
It has everything.
Yeah.
It's got everything you need. It's got zombies, guns, and sex. Oh my.
Oh my.
It's like I think it's so funny. Why can't he get arrested in this town? Like,
Yeah, that I think they should have made more of that, because that's hysterically funny to me. He's like screaming that he did it and waving the gun. The bit at the end where the cop's like, "There's a guy killing people. Oh, good, you've got a gun. Keep an eye out." That was really good. I think a little bit more of that, and that would have been straight up Naked Gun, and I would have loved it.
yeah, like it reminds me of like. Have you ever seen the movie The Wrong Guy with David Foley?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, mate, you should watch that. You will absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go too into it because I know how you like to go in cold, but it's about a guy that thinks he's on the run for a murder, but nobody thinks he did it.
Genius.
So
Okay, haven't seen it. We'll watch.
yeah,
Absolutely, we'll watch.
it's a banger.
Great.
Once again, this movie has everything. It's just, I think it's like perfectly pitched for the 15-year-old that lives inside all of us.
Hmm.
It's
The
like
dead
it's
15-year-old that lives inside all of us.
yeah, sort of feels like it's deep, although it's not really.
Hmm.
It's full of cool shit and stupid jokes and Anna Fauci's boobs and Rupert Everett's hard body.
Hmm.
Like, it's just a wonderful film. I think it's maybe as near to perfection as you're gonna get from an Italian zombie comedy.
It's a serious string of qualifiers at the end of that very, very exciting build-up. Do you think it's in your top 10?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. Which quadrant of the top 10 is it in? That doesn't make sense. Quadrant means 4. What number is it?
It's I don't know. It's probably hovering around five or six.
Wow, mid-table top 10 is huge.
It's incredibly beautiful to look at.
Mm.
So you can enjoy it on that level. It's incredibly funny. So you can enjoy it on that level. It's so much fun. It's very silly. It takes itself very seriously, but also takes itself not very seriously at all.
Mm.
It's just a little sort of perfect movie, I think. There's nothing that I would change about it.
Mm. I think it's interesting that you so readily acknowledge how silly it is, because I think I was a little bit self-conscious coming in here that I thought it was sillier than it was. And I think maybe that's testament to how serious parts of it are. In my mind, it's hard to have a movie that's so serious and so silly and everything in between, because that's a huge shot for the moon. But it kind of pulls it off. It does have parts where you think, that's actually very poignant and quite moving. And then you have parts where you think, that might be the dumbest thing I have ever seen in a film. And then somewhere in the middle is the bulk of the action of the movie. So I think it's pulling off huge swings in that regard. I think I've got an enormous amount of respect for the filmmaking, for the ideas, for the imagination, and for the big shots. It does a lot of stuff I really like. And, give me a foggy graveyard. I'm a happy guy.
The foggy graveyard, the grave POV shots, the broken TV POV shots, the through the open mouth of a zombie POV shots. Like, that stuff is cool.
Yeah.
It's Sam Raimi shit, right? And like,
definitely.
I think what you said before about like this feeling reminiscent of all of these things that we like and like cramming them together in a big ball that doesn't really make any sense. It doesn't really want to make any sense, but like you've got your David Lynch, you've got your Sam Raimi, you've got your Mario Bava, you've got
Tim Burton, kind of.
Yeah, like it's all in there.
It's nice to not have to care that much if it works or makes sense, because you're being entertained.
Yeah.
You're not looking for a big answer. You're not unriddling all these, very subtle plot points, etc., etc. You are basically just enjoying the things happening in front of your eyes for best part of 2 hours. And that's noble in my opinion, especially nowadays. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would change, actually, there's one shot that I don't like.
And
I used to like it. It's when, I mean, it's just a bit on the nose. It's when she tells him that she's going off to marry the new mayor.
Yeah.
And she's sort of walking around him in a circle, and the camera is sort of going around in a circle. And it's obviously meant to, it's like Hitchcock stuff to like show you how disorienting this news is meant to be. I mean,
Sure.
he literally nearly got his dick cut off so he could be with her. So like, you would be a bit pissed off, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, we've not touched on a key part of that exchange, and I don't think we should, but just know that we know that it's there.
We know it's there. We texted about it. We're choosing not to talk about it. I liked that scene without talking about it. It felt very piss-takey of a soap opera, which if you're poking fun at soap operas in the daytime portion of your necrophilia movie, I'm in. Like, that's clever shit. I'm high-fiving on that.
Yeah. So go on. What have you got? Anything else that you want to say? You want to give us your rating?
No, I think I would give it. I give it a solid 3.5 death mannequins out of 6. I enjoyed vast minutes of this film, and I think there's a lot to be said for just how imaginative it is with some weird ass material. If it's getting weird, I'm 100% all in from the jump. If it's at least interesting with some genre conventions, and if it's taking some traditional elements of Italian horror and just flipping them the fuck on their head, then yeah, goal. I say it's good. Yeah.
Good. Thematically and on the vibes, this film would pair really well in a double bill with Repo Man, my all-time favorite movie.
Which would you put first?
I'm going to put Repo Man first because that's my fave.
Repo Man's the opening act to Cemetery Man.
I don't think of it as like the opener. I think of it as the Dellamorte Dellamore is the B picture.
Right. So it's like, yeah, okay. All right, I get you. Interesting. Yeah, I think they would go well together, yeah.
I have a few cans of generic no-name brand beer while I watch Repo Man, and then I'm a bit sozzled for when Dellamorte Dellamore comes on. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Obviously, Repo Man is filled with punk. Obviously, like narratively, but also in terms of the way that it's put together. And I think this is a pretty fucking punk movie too.
Filled with punk. This movie definitely is.
Yes. Shop punk. Shop S-punk.
Yeah. There's so much going on in this film. It's almost hard for us to break down in an hour and a half, which is weird. Because it's dumb as fuck. Like, there shouldn't be so much to talk about, but there is. And that's impressive, I think. I think my one-word review of this would probably be impressive, which is going to be wholly misleading for people because people who save words for impressive for shit like Schindler's List.
Yeah. I mean, I would watch this over Schindler's List 7 days a week.
Yeah, I bet you would. I mean, I was more impressed and filled with admiration than I was as in love and entertained as you were. But that doesn't mean I think it's any less. I just think it's more your taste than mine. But there was a lot I liked, and I would be amazed if it didn't influence some modern horror, some modern risk-taking horror like Renfield, because I felt the two movies were just fucking peas in a pod.
You know, I could totally see that. I think, like I say, if you saw this when you were 15, you would probably love it. And if you can like dig down through the tree roots and shit and dig up that inner 15-year-old and have them alongside you while you watch this, you will. I think it really sort of satiates that adolescent idiot, that pretentious adolescent idiot inside us all. It's a universal experience, right? Everyone at 15 was a pretentious twat.
I don't think this was me at 15. I got to be honest. Like, I was definitely a pretentious twat. Don't get me wrong. Just this wasn't my bag, really. This feels a bit like. This is going to sound weird. I love Typo Negative, is what I'm going to say first.
Okay,
I really like that band, but I thought they were a really serious band when I was a kid. And when you grow up, you realize Typo Negative are not a particularly serious band.
Absolutely not.
No, this movie is Typo Negative acting out A Midsummer Night's Dream. And that's why I can't be all in on it, but I can still enjoy it.
That is so astute. Like, it is Typo Negative.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever said.
But it is, like,
it is, yeah.
It's to the layperson, or if you're not really paying attention, it looks like a serious, artsy situation. But if you engage with it on any real level, you will just see how silly and fun it is, and how much fun they're having making it.
Yeah,
I feel like I maybe came to the realization that Typo Negative were funny earlier than you.
Definitely.
Because there was a song called Everything Dies.
Oh, I love that song.
And there's a line in it where he's just listing off all these people that he knows and they died. And one of them is my Uncle Lou. And I always thought that was the funniest thing in the world. My Uncle Lou, funny. But he died. Like,
they have so many great lyrics. The delivery is so funny now, listening back to it. I mean, R.I.P. Pete Steele, we should say.
Yeah, R.I.P.
And not
Steele.
just because of his gigantic cock, because he was a fucking hilarious musician and a great guy with a vision. I love Pete Steele. But cover of Playgirl to his credits. Impressive.
The lowest selling issue ever, I believe.
Yeah, I know. How fucking cool is that? You get to say you're the cover of the lowest ever selling issue of Playgirl. Do it for us, Pete. Do it for all of us.
In Peter Steele's defense, if I was on the cover of Playgirl, it would be the lowest selling issue ever.
I disagree. I think it would sell more.
Do you
But,
think?
Jamie, the shit you can do with those nipples, holy crap. You'd have me
Like-
out the palm of your hand.
Me and my little pea hog and my mustache on the cover of Playgirl, like
With the moustache right now, get you. That's your ticket. I'd be amazed if, bands like, I want to say bands like, there aren't really any bands like, if Typo Negative hadn't seen this movie, I'd be astonished.
yeah. I was thinking about Typo Negative and Cradle of Filth when I watched this.
Yeah, this will be on Danny's shelf for sure.
Yeah.
I think it shows in their videos. Stylistically, all of them are taking little bits from this movie and movies like it.
I think potentially they're taking things from the things that this is taking things from.
Oh, for
But
sure.
On Midian, there's a song called Amore Morte, which, is very similar.
Pretty fucking close.
Yeah. So, Danny, let us know. Are you
Danny, we
listening?
know you're a listener. You're a loyal follower of the pod. Let us know your thoughts on Cemetery Man.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on Cemetery Man, Daniel Filth.
So, Cemetery Man, pumping your plums, eating your babies, and he didn't eat any babies. That's not correct.
Eating
Cemetery
spaghetti
Man
with his hands.
is a film. We watched it. We talked about it. This has been the Final Transmission podcast. Jamie, do you have anything to say to the people?
Sorry for everything.
That's very kind of you. You're welcome.